USA Ultimate proudly presents the 2019 USA Ultimate Club National Championships back in San Diego, where our hearts are still pounding after that Universe Point women's semifinal. Now we get ready for Fort Collins Shame and Philadelphia Amp. Winner will meet San Francisco Mischief in the mixed final tomorrow. Minneapolis Dragon throws the top seed, but they are denied their shot at the Triple Crown by San Francisco Mischief. The 3 seed, the 6 seed, and the 9 seed. Wouldn't expect anything less in the mixed division. Evan Lepler with Megan Tormey. You forget how the feel of adrenaline at Nationals after a game like that. Now we move on to this mixed division where it feels as unpredictable as anything.
Right, AMP has not looked as strong coming into the final stretch of the tournament as they have in years past. And Shame has done a great job of fighting their way through pool play all the way to the semifinals. So they seem to be riding a little more of a high than AMP is, but as you said, anything can happen in the mixed division.
Well, with Fort Collins Shame, look, you're not going to mistake this team for the most hard-working team in show business, but they go out there, they have fun, they have tons of talent, and they put all the pieces together, it seems, this weekend.
Yeah, they seem to use the entire field really well, not necessarily in a formulaic way, but it works really well for them, and they've been just gelling incredibly well this tournament.
Among their phenomenal players, they got the 5 captains, and they got the 2012 Men's Callahan Award winner, Nick Lance, won it for Georgia Tech, won a national title with Bravo 5 years ago. He still got game.
He was out most of the season for an injury, so he, playing this tournament, has added some much welcome firepower. It has helped speed things along for Shame, making them even more dynamic, which I think is a huge reason why we see them in the semifinals today.
Trying to contain Lance and Shame, the defending mixed division national champions, Philadelphia Amp. Megan, they've had an up and down weekend. As you said, they've been inconsistent, but here they are again. They've got this championship experience.
Someone who is consistent on this team is Michael Ng. He has been just instrumental on both sides of the disc. He is great at catching goals, great at throwing assists, but the thing that I think makes him the most valuable is his ability to find open spots continuously. He is always grinding, so if there's a moment of stagnation, Ng steps in to help out.
And his coaches love to talk about what great of a teammate he is. Michael Ng and Philly Amp try to get back to the final for the 3rd year in a row. Shame standing in the way. Opening pull coming up. The USA Ultimate National Championships are brought to you by Discraft, home of the Ultrastar, the official disc of USA Ultimate. Now featuring an updated website to make ordering custom discs easier than ever. Visit Discraft.com for all your custom disc needs. Fort Collins Shame with a starting 7 that looks like this. McLaughlin, Morgan, Snuska, Dietrich, their leading goal scorer, with Herrera, the former Johnny Bravo handler, Owen Westbrook. That's the team from Fort Collins, Colorado, going against Philadelphia Amp. And the familiar name of Rahamo Zafari. She still got it. Luke Ryan has been phenomenal as well. Talking about Michael Ng in the open. He's dangerous on both sides of the disc. Patrick Sherlock, for the first year, he's got an assistant, and that's Matt Zumbrum, the former Amp player. Well, Luke Ryan's been really good. So has Ryan Flamberg, and Ian Toner down in the field has more on the Amp burgeoning star. Ian?
Thanks, Evan. It's no secret that Shame loves the deep ball, and Ryan Flamberg is someone that Patrick Sherlock has described as a secret weapon for Amp in disrupting the Shame deep game. He's tied for the team lead with 4 blocks heading into the weekend. He's listed at 6'1". You should expect him to be taking big matchups against the likes of Nick Snuska and other 6'+ Shame receivers.
Philadelphia Amp has been on this stage before. I can guarantee you they spent more time scouting and preparing their game plan last night than Shame did. Shame really has the feel of kind of that quintessential mixed team. They throw a bunch of good players out there and see what they got. They like to huck, they like to fly, and they like to win. And that's all they've done so far this weekend. Arguably, they've been the best, most consistent team in the division. Maybe Mischief is the only one that can give them a run for their money.
I think that's a fair argument. Shame has just looked in control the entire time at Nationals. And it's no surprise to see them on the fields at semis, given how consistent they were, considering how much volatility there is usually in the mixed division.
Steve Rosso will pull. Amp won the toss and chose to start on defense. Patrick Sherlock saying that they want to extend points. Shame is a team that is going to try to get points done pretty quickly. Amp feels that they have a significant advantage with their depth. Feel like they have an advantage with their female players as well. That has been Amp's recipe for success throughout the past couple of years. This weekend, though, it's taken a long time for Amp to find its groove. See how it goes today. Ing starts the game defensively on Westbrook. Ryan Morgan back to Owen Westbrook. And there's the first touch for Jade McLaughlin. Kevin Herrera has been one of the leading scorers for this Shame team as well. It is a Shame with a small s and a period at the end of it. We asked why the period, and in typical Ultimate fashion, they're just trying to get on everybody else's nerves. They're trying to make it more difficult because you write the period and then you autocorrect to the start of the new sentence, turns into a capital letter, and they are grammar snobs or something like that.
Just trying to make it difficult to type about him.
They've made it difficult for opponents to beat them. And this is a pretty patient possession here, Megan, going downwind. And a score. And it dropped at the end. No, McLaughlin had it and lost it. You got to maintain control through the contact of the ground. Tried to tuck it away, could not do it. For the first turnover, Amp picks it up with Rosso on the goal line. Oh, nearly a Callahan. That was Nick Schnuska bidding in the end zone. Disc floating up there. And it's ripped away. Herrera steals it. Resets for Westbrook. There have been a lot of teams to make the semifinals in the past few years from the Rocky Mountain area, primarily Denver Boulder. See a call here. It's going to be interesting to see how this one gets resolved.
It in. Hold on, defense is going to check it in.
Hammaker, Tanim on 40 and Blair. Amp's disc. And into the wind, sending Luke Ryan. He's got it. And Amp begins with a break to lead 1-0.
That is Luke Ryan's 6th goal of this tournament. And you watch how impressively he kept his defender at his back as he started making that cut. So that all the way down the stretch of the field, he had possession. Here's that turnover from Jade. That tight defense from Raha Mosafari. And then Ryan getting early field position and maintaining it down the stretch.
Really nice throw, tight spin. Rosso to Ryan for the score. Luke Ryan's had an amazing journey. His coach Patrick Sherlock says he can make unbelievable things happen. And that Luke Ryan joining this AMP team coincided with an uptick in the team's direction. Plays with a competitiveness and a playmaking sense that's uncanny. He's broken both of his collarbones playing Ultimate. He also has dealt with hamstring issues throughout the season. He tweaked his groin on Friday. He had a heat stroke during the semifinals a year ago. and yet he's still making things happen on this grand stage. It was not the smooth sailing through pool play. AMP went 1-2, and in the game they won against Montana Moondog, AMP trailed 8-5 at the half. Needed a ferocious comeback to beat that Montana team and avoid a winless trip through pool play, which would have ended their season. Be interesting to see if they can get a rematch with Mischief tomorrow, Megan, because in their pool play game against Mischief, it was AMP that led 10-6, and then it disintegrated fast, and Mischief went on to win. Near the sideline, Westbrook landed out of bounds. Looking long, and AMP not able to connect. Spencer DeHroos didn't get the angle on that throw that he was looking for.
As defender had him pretty well marked for a big throw. He had to step out really far, and as a result, tilted that disc just a little too much outside in, a fair amount too much outside in, I should say. It bladed pretty quickly.
Nick Lance able to complete it downfield for Aubrey Dietrich. Dietrich's had a fantastic tournament for Shame. Their leading scorer. Dietrich looked into the end zone, but Rahamo Zafari anticipated it well. Zafari, like Boston Brute Squad's Amber Sinacrope in her 14th year on her team. And a turnover on the goal line allows Shame to score an easy equalizer. A gift, Ashley Daly Morgan with a quick score, 1-1.
Man, I am shocked at how slow AMP was to get up and play defense after they turned the disc over in Shame's end zone. They just let them have that shot for free.
And Lance picks up the assist. I was starting to talk about it before, and I'm curious to bring Ian in on this because, you know, Fort Collins, Colorado, it's about an hour from Denver, and Ian has lived in Denver. What is the kind of the reputation of Fort Collins Ultimate? How does it kind of meld with Denver Boulder, and how is it its own thing?
No, it has its own identity. I think a lot of players from Denver and Boulder typically associate the Fort Collins scene with the more recreational part of the game. You know, you travel up there for the off-season costume tournaments and parties with other people around the state. But this is a program that this Shame program has developed its own base and identity in taking players who are accomplished in other cities around the state, other divisions around the game, and bringing them into the fold and saying, hey, we just want to go out there and have fun playing this game we love. And I think that's a different mentality than some of the other teams that you see in other divisions around the state.
Well, like a lot of Ultimate teams, as Michael Ing almost dropped the pull. Centers it to Sean Mott, and then the dish back to Ing out of his grasp. Champ a chance for a break to get back on serve. Scoobert and Lance. And a backhand to the end zone to give Fort Collins Shame its first lead. Casey Anderson has been a revelation. The 6'3" deep target from Albuquerque makes it 2-1.
Man, great recognition instantly from Lance. He's able to fire that shot with confidence very quickly. Again, that's the kind of firepower that they were really hoping Lance would bring to the team, and he has delivered.
Casey Anderson was not an Ultimate player, not even a little bit, but he was dating an Ultimate player. And I believe Alex Daniels basically realized that the team needed more dudes, as they put it, so they asked Casey to join the team, and now they say he's the best player on the team. Comes from a basketball background and has caught a lot of goals these past couple of years. (2-1) Fort Collins leads. The Shame team, like a lot of Ultimate teams, created. The idea was kind of first coined at 2 a.m. in a bar, thinking about Ultimate. And here they are in the semifinals of Nationals against the defending national champs. Mott over to Bobby Roos, who rips a flick long. Mott, with great speed, runs it down a few yards shy of the goal line. Mott to the end zone on the money. Liz Hart hauls it in. We're tied 2-2.
Mott has also had an absolutely spectacular weekend for AMP. Coming into this game, he had 10 assists, so he just registered his 11th, and 7 goals. The leader for the team in both the assists and goals column.
Mott has been a speedster, critical piece of the AMP offense, and in his own words, one of the reasons that AMP has struggled is because the offense has struggled. Patrick Sherlock has felt that throughout a lot of their games, the defense has gotten plenty of breaks, certainly enough to win. And the AMP offense, look, they're a different team than they were a year ago. You know, no Nikki Spiva, no Calvin Trissolini, no Nico Lake. Some pretty good handles in that group that are no longer here. Yuga Shao moving on to Boston Brute Squad, where she'll be in the championship game tomorrow.
Yeah, it's made a noticeable difference. I remember watching them at the U.S. Open against Blackbird, against Ellipsis, the team from Australia, and I was just surprised at how the systems that they have been able to run with ease in the past really seemed to struggle. They were looking downfield, they were having cuts coming in, but they just weren't timed appropriately, they weren't positioned well, and it led to a lot of high stall pressure situations that inevitably generated a turnover.
Good disc movement here from Shane. Schnuska. Back to Westbrook. Frankly, I've been a little impressed with Shane's patience so far. Now, Megan, you competed with Public Enemy here at Nationals, competed against Shame in that South region. What have been your thoughts watching this team evolve throughout the year? How'd their team change from regionals to nationals?
Well, we played a really good game against them at regionals. We put up a junk defense that they really struggled to overcome. And so I think our game against them really didn't help us understand, you know, exactly the team that they are, the team that we've seen this weekend. They just weren't that flexible against the defense that we put up. But as you've mentioned before, they have a lot of really talented players. And yeah, to be honest, I am surprised to see this patience offensively, because we certainly didn't see that at regionals.
They work it down the field and they turn it over, and it's AMP that boosts it long. Eric Nardelli, 5 yards shy of the goal line, takes a timeout. Good defense by Nardelli, and then he was off.
Great D, great cut, enabling AMP to get so close to their end zone in one throw after watching Shame laboriously work the disc down the field. You know, you've mentioned talking about shame in the sense that they are a fairly typical ultimate Frisbee team in the mixed division. Just putting a bunch of really good ultimate players together and see what happens. They have coalesced here at Nationals. 15-13 over Wild Card, 15-8 over Slow White. Tighter game against Super Lame, 14-12. But then a decisive victory in quarterfinals, 15-8 over Snake Country. I think it's very interesting that we are watching them play against AMP, who in the mixed division I think is fairly antithetical to what we often think of about good teams in the mixed division. They are so much more systems-based, so much more process-based, which is why we continue to see them perform at the top, even with the departure of some of the really well-known names.
Oh, almost an amazing catch by Rosso, but he could not hang on. And a gigantic backhand going the length of the field, and it is denied. Natalie Bova certainly doesn't think that she committed a foul. That's close.
Yeah, from that angle, I see McLaughlin's argument a lot better. The first angle, I thought it looked like Bova had the clean D after McLaughlin had lost the opportunity to catch it.
Yeah, so our ruling is that it was a foul.
Okay.
So, here it is.
Okay, on the line?
At the
So you're
spot
gonna-
of the foul. So you're
check
gonna-
it here? Well, at the spot of the foul.
You know what's interesting?
Check it, it'll be live, then you walk it to the line.
If Bova had also called a foul on McLaughlin, you wonder if the observers would have upheld both foul calls and the disc would have gone back. But because only one foul was called, there were multiple fouls, but only one was called, and it was a foul. It was two fouls, but only one was called, so Shane has the disc on the goal line.
Oh, interesting. To me, it looked like Bova had been initiating the contact.
And you might be right.
Well, it wasn't called immediately, but it was called before they came over here. So it's going to be coming in saying 3 or saying 4? Saying 4. Whenever you're ready, everyone's set.
That disc is caught. Not necessarily the intended target, but as so often this weekend she has, Aubrey Dietrich makes the grab for shame. And Fort Collins back in front 3-2. So close.
So close. He had his hands on it, but just could not stop rotation. And there's Bova and McLaughlin jockeying for a position, but really to me it looked like...
I thought you could make a case McLaughlin hooked Bova's arm that was going for the disc.
That's so interesting. I saw it the other way.
I guess I'm an East Coast guy and you're a South Region gal. Dietrich scores the goal. McLaughlin picks up the assist. McLaughlin, one of the handful of Albuquerque, New Mexico natives on this shame team. There's 7 players or so from Fort Collins, maybe a dozen from Denver, and then a contingent from New Mexico. Right off the bat, the deep shot for Mike Ng. He reads it well. AMP did not waste too much time there.
What a throw from Anna Thompson to set that all up. That was just a beauty of a huck. It's just her 3rd year on the team, and she has become such a stalwart for AMP.
Well, she became a superhero for her play in the final that they lost on Universe 2 years ago against Mixtape. Last year dealt with injuries, but celebrated a championship. And still one of the young, promising players in the division. Thompson just 22. Mike Ing, playing Ultimate since high school, of course, and Patrick Sherlock, who coached him at U24s, has known him since he was in high school. Comments about how as good of a player as Ing is, he's an even better teammate. One of those guys that when one of your best players has that attitude and works that hard, it just reflects well on everybody else. Assistant coach Matt Zumbrum has been the orchestrator strategically of AM's defense here at Nationals. Ing back out there on this D-line. Zach Fleming. This is Marilyn Reich. Owen Westbrook pivots, dishes to the, beg your pardon, this is Westbrook bidding to keep it alive. And a foul called. By the way, when I was chatting with some of the folks from Shame last night, Megan, they spared Owen Westbrook no shame in announcing that the loss to Public Enemy at regionals was all Owen's fault. They said he just threw everything bad, but he got all the bad throws out of his system that day against you guys, so he'd be ready to go for nationals. And well, now Shame leads 4-3. Another nice snag in the end zone there. Marilyn Reich hauls in her first goal. I was waiting for an upside-down score from this Colorado team. It's a little throw and go. And Herrera picks up the assist. Kevin Herrera, 33-year-old. Played college ultimate both at University of Minnesota and at University of Georgia. Played club with Pony. Of course, we'll see Pony coming up next. Defending men's national champions taking on Chicago Machine. The first men's semifinal, then Seattle Sockeye and Raleigh Ring of Fire later tonight. Tell you, there was a chance with San Francisco Fury losing, San Francisco Revolver losing, that we could have a Bay Area free championship Sunday at Nationals, and I can't remember the last time that happened. But of course, Mischief in the mixed division representing the Bay Area on Championship Sunday in 2019.
Keeping the hopes alive for Bay Area fans.
Anna Thompson to initiate possession. Pull play, gets the disc in the hands of Bobby Roos, who launches deep. Sean Mott is there. And another quick strike from Philly Amp. 2 throws, all it takes to tie it at 4.
I have been really impressed with Amp's longer throws today. They have been connecting well. And the importance of that is, of course, keeping the offense rested. They are pretty quick to fire, get that disc in the end zone, putting Shame's offense back on the line.
This is what they need Mott to do. He's had to be a little bit more of a handler just out of necessity, but his game at his best is doing damage in the deep space. He caught the game winner in semis last year to knock out DC Space Heater. That Universe Point thriller that certainly didn't go by without some controversy. We talked last year about how the AMP Space Heater game and at the same time Mixtape was playing Snake Country, and you had two long-time mixed programs in AMP and Mixtape against two kind of all-star team type mixed programs in Snake Country and Space Heater. And you know, last year the long-time programs won out. Shame is certainly more in the Space Heater Snake Country mold, but we'll see. We felt that way about Mixtape 5 years ago, and now they're one of the legacy programs in this mixed division.
That's a fair point, but I think the important point to point out of what you just said is that it was 5 years ago, and it takes just a little bit of time and a little bit of practice to get accustomed to what it's like to play on this stage, to deal with the fact that you're being broadcast, that you're playing in a different arena than you play the entire rest of the tournament in. All the same, this is a great time for Shame to strike, given that AMP has just looking a little shakier than they have in the past 2 years.
Tough grab made in traffic by Butrika, and he fires deep, and that disc deflected off a couple of hands and finds the turf. Westbrook just rips it long, and nobody's home. That remind you of regionals?
Yeah, I was just about to say, it looks like perhaps he didn't get all of his bad throws out at regionals. You know, one thing that I appreciate about Shame's Twitter handle is that they often shame their own players for mistakes made in the game. So you'll see players holding up a whiteboard with the mistakes that they've made, bearing a sad face. So at least they're able to laugh at their mistakes.
There's a lot of laughter on this Shame team. This one floating up there. Rosso in pursuit. He read it really well. He's got Thompson with him. He's got Walsh with him. Walsh with a one-handed snag in stride for the Philly break.
That was a great read by Rosso. The angle on that disc, a tricky one to read, and then nice throw to Walsh, who, when she's fired up, it is easy to tell that the rest of the team feeds off of her energy.
Danielle Walsh, one of the captains for AMP this year, and Patrick Sherlock talking to us last night about the fact that AMP doesn't have just one new captain or two new captains. All three captains on the 2019 AMP squad are new. And through their decade-and-a-half history, they've tried to only change over one captain per year. It allows them to maintain a level of consistency, and you almost learn how to be a captain from the other captains. This year, with some personnel changes and different life responsibilities taking precedence, it's been Walsh with Rosso and Linda Morse stepping into that role. Matt Zumbrum becoming an assistant coach, and aside from Walsh's play on the field and her leadership, I mean, she's finally healthy. She was on the field in Universe Point earlier in bracket play to help AMP get here. Max Charles with the pull. Center to Lance. Ing on that mark. Have not seen Nick Lance unleash anything too ambitious so far, but well, there's an ambitious throw from Herrera, and it was well done to that little open pocket against the Amp zone. Shnushka hauls it in. Kevin Coulter, who's been the leading scorer, one of the leading scorers for Shame, wasn't sure he was going to play in this game because of a hamstring injury, but when he said that, he had his cleats on, so I had a hunch that he might try and play. Here he is. For young folks out there, I mean, it was 7 years ago, Megan, that Nick Lance won the Callahan with, I think it's fair to say, one of the first great Callahan videos during the early days when Callahan videos weren't exactly the norm. Now every school has one. Lance cross field, no. If you've never seen Nick's Callahan video, I think you can probably still find it. And he had a special career in college for Georgia Tech.
Well, Amp certainly looking to stir the pot, mix things up with that zone defense. Shame looked good down the stretch, but one errant throw puts Amp exactly where they want to be on offense.
Ing looking for Charles. A perfect throw, and Charles makes the catch. That's 3 in a row for Amp.
And again, Amp's Huck game has been on point today. The timing, the execution, they are setting things out on a platter for their teammates.
Ing shows off one of his many skills with a picture-perfect flick huck. And Max Charles, I like it. Giving the sign some attention. Timeout, Shame. In the mixed division this year on the Triple Crown Tour, Dragon Thrust won the U.S. Open and Pro Championships, was looking for a Triple Crown here at Nationals, but falling short earlier today, falling the hands of Mischief. What a story Montana Moondog has been. They won Select Flight Invite West in mid-July. They go to sectionals. They don't advance to regionals from their section. But because one of the teams that did qualify dropped out, Moondog was invited to participate in regionals, and then they make it to nationals. It's a crazy story. And here at nationals, they acquitted themselves pretty well.
Yeah.
Lucy Williams played really well for that team, former Mixtape and Riot standout. And we have seen some good mixed teams from Montana back in 2008. The Mental Toss Fly Coons from Missoula won a mixed national title. Another team from Missoula back in 01, Trigger Happy. First year of the mixed division at Club Nationals was 97. As you see the break chances, Amps created a bunch of them. There's some wild team names that made it to the semis and finals. Some that probably wouldn't be appropriate to say on air in 2019.
Different times.
First team that won from Missoula, Montana was a team I like that Shame could be called. It's Trigger Happy. Deep shot, end zone. Got it. Zach Fleming runs it down for the Shame quick score.
Man, what a fantastic put. You cannot ask for a better dime than that from Herrera. Back corner of the end zone.
And the only surprising thing is that we didn't get one of those earlier. It took till the 11th point.
Yeah. And I do think you have to credit the AMP defense for that. They've been flattening out the mark just enough that those bigger puts are a little harder to execute.
The leaders of Shame have talked about their team culture, two of the tenets of which are hucks and chaos. They like hucks, they like chaos. They were having a ball last night, although, quite frankly, they acknowledged they did not expect to be here, and the way that they can further indicate that is by the fact that 2/3 of the team purchased plane tickets to fly back Sunday morning, and if they win today, they will have to call the airline and make some changes. Joe Anderson marking AMP's Paul Owens, who fires deep, and that disc floating, but a little too long, and Shame able to get the block. Adrian Altabelli, formerly played with both Slow White and Metro North. Shame 70 yards away from a tie score. Looking deep, Anderson's got the size, Mott has the speed. And Anderson, with his wingspan, makes the catch. Foul was called. Joe Smash wants to go right to the observer. And the observer is gonna consult for a second opinion, as we do as well.
It looked like Anderson was doing quite a bit of bodying, trying to get position over Mott.
I thought I got in front of him, and he was coming into my back.
And explain the basis of the contest.
I think because he initiated contact, I just got the disc.
Okay, so good with the ruling, or? Okay, so the ruling is the defense initiated contact. It is not a foul. We're gonna bring it to the receiver, stalling one.
It's a good battle.
So when you're ready, just get up to the second.
That's interesting. I disagree.
Timeout, Shame. Take another look at this sequence here.
Looks like Anderson starts reaching over Mott with that left arm.
That's one of those plays where I think they're just both jockeying for position. You know, they both could have been called for a foul. I think Anderson gets the disc.
Mott's arm did loop over Anderson at the tail end of that play. So I see your point, Evan, about how both individuals have an argument about there being fouling contact during the attempted catch.
Out of timeout, Anderson has Stenslick and Snyder with him in the backfield. And two throws, all it takes. Stenslick to Kiera Lindgren. Lindgren, formerly of Denver's Molly Brown, ties the game at 6.
Man, that was great movement from Stenslick. who started his cut and realized that his defender was getting position up that strike line, paused so that he was at the front of the end zone, turned and looked break side immediately, and Lindgren was right there. Just a wide throw, but no defense in sight.
"12 points in, certainly nothing decided yet," as we check in on the sideline with Ian.
Thanks, Evan. You saw Joe Smash Anderson making that grab, and I was teammates with him back in 2015 when he came back and came to the Colorado scene from the New York scene for the first time. He was generally known as a really energetic defensive presence. He would always take that top handler matchup, put a big frustrating mark on there. So seeing him really stretch the field here and be a great deep receiver after the turnover is really hearkening back to some of the earlier days of his career when he took those responsibilities a little more differently in his playing style. But great to see him having an impact here in the first half of this national semifinal.
Ian, fair to say that Joe's the life of the party wherever he goes?
Absolutely fair to say.
Pretty good defensive pressure here. Bobby Roos throws it into the poach. Kevin Coulter picks it off. Oh, squeezing it through the tight space to give Shame the lead. No shame in that. Zach Fleming hauls in the score after the Coulter interception.
And great recognition from Coulter where the throw is most likely going. Cuts it off at the head.
This is a Nick Lance throw right here.
Yeah, showing off that he is not afraid of very narrow margins. Steps out wide, puts just a nice little bit of outside in so it stays away from the defender's path, but doesn't wrap too far into the middle of the end zone. Stays straight enough that Fleming can run straight up onto it. Difficult throw to execute.
Since the score was 4-all, we've had 5 points, and 4 of them have been breaks. Amp had back-to-back breaks, goals from Walsh and Charles. Go up 6-4, and now 3 straight scores from Shame, the hold, and now back-to-back breaks, Lindgren and Fleming. Lance's pull into the wind, tailing right, and out of bounds. Thompson Mozafari with Ing at the front of the stack, Mott at the back of the stack. And Thompson throws it away looking for Ing. Megan Shame could take it to half right here.
They certainly could. Nick Lance picking up the disc. Their defense's offense has looked good these last few points. It is not outside of the realm of possibility at all.
Looking for it here. McLaughlin, no. Now Mosafari picks up. You know who's been really quiet in this first half? Linda Morse, who has the disc right now. And she turns it over. Another well-timed poach from a veteran shame defender. And this is a Nick Lance throw if I've ever seen one. And it's gonna work if it was in bounds, but it was not. Ruled just out the back. Oh, wow, that's very, very close. Yeah. It's the first point of contact. And you can make an argument that that left foot was down first, but it's really hard to tell.
So you thought it was not a force out, but a foul, but not a force
I didn't see the foul, so I'm gonna rule that.
Oh, man.
So you're calling a force out? And you are... Okay. Do you want to keep it a foul contest here, or do you want to come to us? Sure. Our ruling is it was not a force out, so no force out. The contact did not cause you to go out of bounds. You were already going out of bounds. You were already out of bounds. So it's a turnover.
No pun intended, but that is a shame. That was great wherewithal to stay in bounds, but it was just so close to the back line.
And I'll tell you, looking at it live, I thought it was out too.
So did I.
And really the third look at the replay is the one that was like, what? So, foul here.
They're still moving
That would have made it halftime. Instead, Amp looking for the equalizer. Ooh, Morse. She had Sean Mott taken off. And the wind at her back.
I'm contesting like a contact call. Are you allowed to do that?
You are allowed to contest a contact call. So do you want to?
It jostled it in my hand while I was trying to.
So you okay. So did you feel the contact?
I felt it touched the disc, but it was like I didn't move position at all either. Like,
was it on your hands?
Yeah.
So the rule though is if your hands are not completely, absolutely stationary, and in a legal marking position, it is against the defense.
Okay. So go down.
So it goes to 0.
Okay.
Fresh tall count for Morse and Amp. And it has not been Linda's point. Couple turns for Morse. There's a pick downfield, just coming back to Spencer Tibbs, 27-year-old from Abilene, Texas.
Solid 3.
Daniels back to Tibbs. Now right near the goal line, and no clear ruling from the observers either way. Looked like it may have been a straddle, but usually the observers are emphatically pointing in or not in.
Did you have back foot in? Back foot in the line first? I had back foot in the line first. Did you have front foot in first?
Yeah, that's not in.
Not in.
They just caught it while she was.
So you think it's in? You think it's in? Yeah. Okay. So we're going to call it in. So, in.
Shame takes half in a curious fashion.
A goal rescinded and a non-goal counted.
I guess that's justice, right?
I think so.
Well, we've seen AMP come from behind several times throughout the tournament. They're going to have to do so again. Alex Daniels with the score. Let's go down to Ian.
Evan, thank you. Coach Jake Juzak, when you founded this team back in 2015, in your wildest dreams, did you see this team reaching the semifinals of the club national championships?
Maybe not then, but definitely last year. And I decided to get out of the way. Got a bee on you.
Oh, thanks, man. Oh, shit. Did you? Oh, sorry. So what went well for your team? Why do you have this 2-goal margin going into halftime?
They've kind of like changed things up from what it used to be, just close your eyes and huck it to athletes. Like they actually work it now and then take good shots. I'm a little disappointed, but it seems to be working out.
You want to see less discipline and more free-flowing.
Yeah, exactly. But
What do you want to see your team do more of in the second half from a strategic perspective?
strategically, we started to make the right changes at the end of the first half with our actually marking and working defensively downfield instead of just, I think the jitters were there in the beginning and they're gone now.
All right, well, you got to go talk to your team. Good luck at the halftime huddle, and thank you for your time.
Cool, thanks, Ian.
Evan and Megan, back up to you.
It's a curious coach-player relationship that Jake has with the rest of the Shame players. Former Shame star. He's a great teammate. He's looking out for our guy Ian as well. We appreciate that. We don't want Ian to get stung down on the field. Shame 8-6 over AMP at the half.
Welcome back to the USA Ultimate National Championships. We're here at halftime of the second mixed semifinal, where AMP is trailing Shame 8-6. I'm here with AMP head coach Patrick Sherlock. Patrick, throughout this weekend, your team has found itself trailing at halftime. What explains that?
Well, we're just playing great opponents, and we were looking for opportunities to grow within the game. And so actually, during our little huddle there, we talked about how much we love this, how much our D gets us opportunities, and how much the O continues to improve. Looking forward to more.
It looked like Shame's D-line offense really got going late in the second half there, or late in the first half. What do you need to do to disrupt that unit from being so comfortable?
We're going to continue to score on them so they don't have the disc.
That's fair enough. And what was the message to that team in the halftime huddle?
Just enjoying this. We're looking at everything as a chance to give to each other more, to receive from each other. And so we've got more of those opportunities coming up, and we like the outcome that we're going to get from it.
It looked like your offense was having a little more success earlier in the first half connecting on its deep game. Any changes you want to see from your offense to perhaps change things up stylistically or get a higher completion percentage there?
I like the shots that we took, and I think we looked off a few of them that we could take.
Coach, thank you so much for giving us your time. AMP is trailing Fort Collins Shame 8-6 here at the half in the first semifinal in the mixed division of the USA Ultimate National Championships.
Fleming with a couple scores in the first half, 3 assists for Nick Lance, the former Callahan winner out of Georgia Tech. Steve Rosso got the scoring started for AMP with a break, but it's AMP trailing 8-6 as we begin the second half. Philly AMP will receive. In this game to 15, at the moment we're about 25 minutes away from soft cap, and San Francisco Mischief awaits the winner. Again, I did make a mistake earlier today, and it's far from the first one I've made. The first Missoula, Montana champion in the mixed division was Trigger Hippie, not Trigger Happy. So I apologize to the players from Trigger Hippie and the future players from Trigger Happy, which is a pretty good name as well.
Yes, especially if your team loves to huck.
Here's Mott coming underneath. Again, Shame. Some good defense to begin the possession. Mott taken off, and that throw's not going to work. Something of a coverage sack there from the Shame defense.
Certainly, they were taking away opportunities underneath, so it looked as if that were the only opportunity available to them. The cut not coming exactly from the position and not getting far enough as it needed to for that connection to happen.
Lance right up against that pylon. Angling flick cross field will not work either. Jordan Ryan floats it forward. And Amp begins the second half with a score. Liz Hart, her second of the game. We're going to see if Amp's depth can carry them to the final.
Right, and if they can rely long enough on the systems they've worked so hard for. The thing I really liked about Amp's possession just there is how quickly they got things rolling as soon as they got the disc, as soon as they tapped the disc in. Bit of a lofty throw necessary to work around the defense. And then DeSabato had Hart coming in quickly, so they stayed ahead of Shame's defense for the 3 throws of that point.
Andrea DeSabato, the second longest tenured member of this Amp roster behind Raha Mozafari. DeSabato, 33 years old in her 10th season. One thing Amp has done, as well as anybody in the mixed division, is recruit good young players and give them a chance to compete at the national level early in their careers. And Patrick Sherlock talked about the fact that sometimes, you know, if you're not getting to nationals, you're playing, you know, the Philadelphia area hasn't had a lot of colleges. Pitt is not in the Philadelphia area to make it to nationals. So those are college players that don't necessarily get the chance to play against the best. And he said when you don't play against the best, you can get a tendency to settle. And even if the young players don't play that much in big games early in their careers, that exposure gives you that thirst and that hunger. Bethany Eldridge is one of those young players now, just 19 years old, but she's 6 feet tall, out of Lower Merion High School, currently goes to the University of Vermont. Not playing a ton for Amp now, but they bring her on the team. Obviously a 6 foot tall athlete. They could reap the fruits of that in the years down the road. Nice job recognizing how open she was. Sarah Pesch had that side of the end zone all to herself, and she was able to keep her feet behind that goal line to score the 9th Shame score.
A great job by Shame getting it off that far sideline. The defense had definitely started to suck over. There was a lot of commotion going on in that half of the field, and in one throw, they offer Pesch the opportunity for a completely uncontested catch.
So Shame leads by 2. This is a very different game than the one regular season meeting between these two teams, which happened the first round, 8 a.m. Saturday morning at the Pro Championships. And according to the Shame folks, it was 6 a.m. Colorado time, so they were not really ready to play. And according to them, Amp kicked their butt. They went down about 11-1. Things have clicked at Nationals, and we've seen this from teams in the mixed division before. We saw, obviously, Metro North make a run a few years back. Saw Chris Mazer earlier today, who was such a key player on that Metro North team. Sean Mott let her rip. Testing Anderson. Pretty good defense there. I beg your pardon, that was Vinny Fiacco who comes up with the block.
I think that might have been an example of what Sherlock wanted. Those throws, those opportunities for long puts.
Looking for Spencer DeRoos. Lance in the middle of the field. Here's Anderson. Up the sideline, nice sliding grab by McLaughlin. And a little too far ahead, looking for Lance. DeRoos over to DeSabato. Here's Mott. Both these teams have a trip to the championship game at Nationals very much within reach. Meanwhile, Mischief just hanging out, awaiting an opponent. Here's Morse. Little soft push pass. And Paul Owens, the 20-year-old, picks up his first assist of the game, finding Thompson for the AMP score.
This is more of the style of AMP's offense that I am accustomed to. Grinding downfield until that open cut comes under. Nothing flashy, well, except for that. I'll count that as flashy, but leading up into that, up to that put, just smooth and consistent offense.
Thompson with the score, and Owens seeing that narrow lane, had enough zip on it to get it there. AMP might not be here in the semifinals if not for Owens' heroics on Universe Point against BFG in the quarters. That was a wild back and forth game. Paul Owens was not on the field initially on Universe Point, but Luke Ryan cramped up. Paul came in, he got a catch block, and then scored the game-winning goal for the bookends on Universe to send his team to the semifinals. And Owens, a rookie on AMP, currently at the University of Pennsylvania. Shame quickly into the red zone. Over the top, yes. Crowd enjoyed that hammer. Nick Schnushka hauls it in.
The crowd loves a hammer, and Reich delivers. Again, as we've seen from Shame all game, they are using the entire field to spread the defense wide.
AMP takes the timeout. We are less than 15 minutes away from soft cap. And Shame, with Schnuska's first goal, makes it 10-8. Certainly not uncommon, Megan, to see surprises in the mixed division. It's usually the hardest division to seed, and there's usually a few teams of veterans that are relatively unknown that can qualify for nationals out of the blue, and you never know what to expect. We certainly saw that with the team from Asheville, Super Lame, coming out of the Southeast. Past national champion Dragon Thrust won 3 in a row, of course, and then 3 different winners the last 3 years. And if Shame can knock AMP out, we'll have a 4th different winner in this 4-year span. Certainly, it's entertaining to follow, if nothing else, because the first round of action, you had the 4 and 5 seeds, Wild Card and Slow White, both go down, and they were both 0-2, playing for the right to stay alive. Obviously, your team took the #1 seed, Dragon Thrust, to the brink in your first game, and it had a disappointing loss, but it had to be an exciting way to start the tournament.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. It felt good taking them to Universe Point, and we played much better in the second half against them, I might add. But yeah, it's curious to just see how that tournament plays out. Every single day is volatile.
So who's the best team that you played this year in the mixed division? Yeah?
Without a doubt, BFG.
Did you play AMP?
Did not play AMP, no.
BFG looked really good, and AMP played a great second half to win that game. Dodging a great comeback attempt from BFG. Thompson to Bobby Roos to Michael Ing. Just like Patrick Sherlock drew it up. 10-9. I think coaches probably say, why can't you just do that every time? Because that looked really easy.
That did look really easy. And you notice there was a little bit of a handler weave going on at the front of the stack, back and forth just once, just enough to let the rest of the team get down the field to enable Ing to get into that end zone.
And a good game for Bobby Roos, who's in his 5th year playing for AMP out of Kutztown University. Feels like another one that's going down to the wire here, Meagles. Don't forget, later tonight, 8:30 Eastern Time, 5:30 here on the West Coast. New York Pony and Chicago Machine, and then the nightcap. USA Ultimate After Dark. Sockeye and Ring, Seattle and Raleigh. Be some fun parties in North Carolina tonight as Westbrook collides with his teammate to make the grab, along with Sarah Pesch. Here's Pesch. Looking and delivering it to the front corner of the end zone. That was a little too easy there. Let's see Luke Ryan get beat to that front pylon, but a good cut from John Snyder. On the Shame roster, there's a column for years with team, and Shame's only been around for 4 or 5 years, so that's the longest. John Snyder, it's listed, he's been with the team for 3 weeks from Salem, Oregon. And he has a goal in the semifinals at Nationals. John Snyder, 29 years old. Formerly played in the club division with Wolverines and with Flight Club. One thing about Shane, Megan, they're perfect in the red zone in the second half. And they are 10 of 14 in the red zone in the game. Only one of their goals coming on the Huck. Amp trailing by 2.
You saw how badly Mott wanted to let that one go.
A great active mark there by Nick Lance. Shame looking for its largest lead of the game. Lance, beautifully done. Stenslick has the score, and Fort Collins, Colorado has a 12-9 lead.
Yeah, again, you could tell Mott really was looking for the Huck. And as the stall count rose, Lance stopped that opportunity, and Mott was just off kilter for that incoming cut, giving Shame the disc. And then just watch how Lance reaches around his defender, reaches around Mott to break the mark for the score.
Lance with another assist. Arian Toner was teammates with Nick Lance for a couple years with Johnny Bravo. What was it like playing with Nick?
Nick is just an otherworldly thrower. He looks at the field as both a thrower and a defender in a way that other players don't even get to. He's always looking to attack the most dangerous space on the field with his throws, so you've seen him become so proficient at nailing those hammers and scoobers into break side spaces. You can see him unleash nearly full field flick hucks. And defensively, he's really, really intuitive at understanding where the most dangerous spot for the offense to attack is and jumping lanes, peeling off, flashing off his assignment, and disrupting the opposing offense's looks.
He's on the sideline right now as Amp shoots it long, looking for Rosso. And he did a nice job shielding the space with his body. Steve Rosso has the quick Amp score on the Huck from Ing.
Another great example of how the longer game has been working for Amp today. Ing has delivered a couple of absolute dimes, timing it perfectly so that it stays ahead of his own teammate and therefore well ahead of the defense.
And that throw is into the wind.
Yeah, good point.
Ian, how would you characterize the wind down there right now?
I'd say things are significantly calmer than they were in our previous round where we saw Brute Squad take down Fury in the second women's semifinal. There's a light breeze, but I'm not noticing any gusts, and it feels to be about half the strength of the wind from the earlier round. It's not quite the same test that we saw previously.
And typically you would expect it to become a little more tranquil late into the afternoon, into the early evening. Does Amp have a comeback in him here? Certainly looks breezy from that shot. Here in sunny San Diego for the second year in a row. Last year we were celebrating the 50th anniversary of the sport. First Nationals, Megan, was 40 years ago in 1979. Low throw, but nicely caught. And perhaps an injury. That is Nick Schnushka. Heck of an effort to maintain possession, and he'll take an injury.
Oof.
Ryan Morgan into the game. Great defense by Ing. The play we've been waiting for. We've seen his hucks. We've seen his offensive ability. Now here comes the defense.
That is clean. You see how at the last minute he angles in towards the disc to keep himself away from the person he's defending. So there's no contact, just him hitting the disc.
Just trying to avoid the stall. The shot goes up and it's out the back, incomplete. Under 3 minutes now from the soft cap. Paul Owens had the better legs at this stage of the game in the tournament. Owens is also 20 years old compared to Ryan Morgan, who's 37. And this disc is gonna sail far too long. So Amp is giving away some chances here. A couple players were open, including Morse, also Malty McKinnon. Looks like Ashley Daly Morgan came into the game, and Spencer DeRoos joins as well. Amp in this game, no breaks in the second half. They're just 3 of 10 for the game. Jade McLaughlin dishes it back. McLaughlin, great rugby player in her past. Westbrook has McLaughlin going deep. Acrobatic bid from Ing on the mark. Crossfield scooper, and Ing got a hand on it over Westbrook's head. Michael Ing is doing his job.
He's having himself a game.
Zafari. Over to DeRoos. Amp needs a reset. McKinnon able to get that new stall count. Jake Butrika to the end zone, and that's inbounds. What a catch. The ageless Rahamo Zafari hauls it in right around when the soft cap was going on, so will presumably be a game to 14 unless the goal came just seconds before the cap.
Great effort from Ing to get that D. Ooh, Raha holding on with pressure right at her back at the end zone line, manages to keep possession of the desk and keep her feet in bounds. That takes a lot of wherewithal, but we are not at all surprised to see Raha Mosafari put that kind of effort into making the score.
Well, we've seen it before many, many times. Raha has played on several U.S. national teams. The USA mixed team that won gold in London, WGC 2016. A couple beach worlds teams as well. Butrika picks up the assist. (12-11) Fort Collins Shame leads by 1. Apparently the soft cap will go on after this point. Mosafari making that grab just with seconds to spare remaining on the clock. Rosso wanted to pull the trigger on the bid, but just couldn't do so. So it's Fleming. Gains some yardage for Fiacco. Make that Anderson. Sarah Pesh drops the hammer, and it works. Fleming takes the reset. Anderson into the end zone. Shame leads 13-11, and we'll play to 15.
Series of cheeky throws from Shame gets them at the doorstep and finally into the end zone. What a hammer from Pesh. Standing completely still.
Not too shabby.
Not at all.
Anderson to Schnushka for the score. I feel like all tournament long we've kind of been waiting for Shame to falter. And we're still waiting.
We're still waiting. We are still waiting.
They might be putting the gold medals around their necks tomorrow night. We'll still be waiting. There's just such a contrast in the way they approach this tournament compared to so many other teams. I mean, Shame has had, they said, 3 practices, 2 of which were productive. And you compare that to some other programs that practice once or twice a week throughout the season, have different pods, different workouts, but I mean, the talent level is undeniable, and something has clicked. They've come together. Played a more conservative game than we've expected, but they've played well. Mott fires deep. And wide open in the end zone was Morse. That brings Amp within 1 yet again. No hesitation from Mott here.
Most of the long throws from AMP have been players who've had quite a few steps on their defenders. Shane would do well to adjust, standing just a little bit closer to the person they're defending to not give them such an easy opportunity to streak to the end zone. Because when there has been a little bit of defensive pressure, it has not always gone AMP's way. But when they're defending the AMP player 3-4 yards underneath, that's all that AMP needs to get that separation, because they have the players who can and will make that throw.
That pull is out of bounds. Westbrook will initiate. Kiera Lindgren to his right goes downfield to a wide open Nick Lance. Max Charles has that defensive task this point. Oh, nice throw through a very tight window, and now a bigger opening and a quick score from Shame to make it 14-12. Westbrook bookends the point with a throw and a catch.
Whew. Morris was close by on that throw from Lance. She almost got that D. Nice timing on that cut from Westbrook in the back of the end zone, so that as soon as Herrera got it, he was nearly to the open side. Herrera simply had to put just a tiny bit of outside in, and Westbrook was right there.
So now AMP is in a spot where they need to do something they haven't done the entire second half, which is get a break, and they need to get 2 of them. But before that, they need to hold on offense. Meanwhile, AMP could break to win and move on to the final. Only one time, Megan, has there been a mixed division finalist from the state of Colorado. You go back to the second year in the mixed division when a team from Colorado Springs lost to the Bay Area Redfish Bluefish squad. That was '98. Mott airs one out again, and that's denied. Great defense. Liz Murphy, the block for Shame. 70 yards away from the championship game at Nationals. About 75 yards away. Here's Fleming. Daniels. Anderson. And there was a pick called. This throw's coming back. What a catch there. Casey Anderson's had a very solid game. That's nothing new compared to what he's done the rest of the tournament. AMP playing defense here like their season's on the line, which it is. And there's an interception, the throw off the mark. Roos fires deep immediately. Mott versus Anderson, and what a catch.
Wow.
Mott accelerating and leaping early to catch it for Amp.
He went up as early as he possibly could and snagged that disc in. Some great pressure from Amp to give them that opportunity. And instantly, Roos seizes on it, fires to Mott, who's not about to let that opportunity slip through his fingertips.
Earlier in the point, the defensive pressure from Amp able to force a turnover. And Bobby Roos sending Mott. That's a great catch and a pretty nice job by the defender there, not doing anything too aggressive to go through Mott in the air. Zach Fleming with the wise defensive restraint. The line for Amp with their season on the line. Meanwhile, Nick Schnushka and company going downwind on offense, starting from the brick mark, trying to clinch their ticket to the finals, and in doing so, create a little bit of a challenge with their own airline ticket problem, but it's a good problem to have. They didn't expect to make the finals. A lot of them booked flights home Sunday morning. They could enjoy the party Saturday night, and they'd be home in time to watch the final on Sunday afternoon.
Well, I don't know why they wanted to leave San Diego that early. It has been a gorgeous weekend.
Rumor has it tomorrow is going to be the nicest day yet. Forecast for tomorrow, high of 74, breezy and cooler.
Beautiful.
Here's Sarah Pesh. That throw sailed on her, and Amp has the disc. Trailing by 1, it's a game to 15. Picked up by Michael Ing. Former University of Pittsburgh star, ahead for Danielle Walsh. Played her college ultimate at Wake Forest. Oh, great throw by Walsh, finding Ing. He holsters it. He had Nardelli, but it was a tight window with Lance nearby. So the swing leads to Walsh finding Luke Ryan. And we will go to Universe again in the mixed division in the semifinals at Nationals. 14 all. Next point wins.
It was easy to see how every Amp player was invested in the outcome of that point. You watch how each player is either making a cut or setting up the next cut, which is why Ing had Nardelli, didn't like that window, maneuvered it around, got it to Walsh, and Ryan had already been setting up that cut and was wide open.
The running kick spike left something to be desired, but other than that, it was great end zone offense. Three males, 4 females on the line to determine the fates for Fort Collins Shame and Philadelphia Amp. Marilyn Reich among the 7 on the line. Of course, Nick Lance, Owen Westbrook, Steve Rosso getting ready to pull. Paul Owens will start on the field this point, it appears. Timeout taken before this climactic sequence. Of course, Thompson, Mozafari. Malti McKinnon looks like she's going to play this point as well. And Amp has been there before, not just in seasons past, but earlier this tournament. Quarterfinals against BFG. It was a lengthy universe point that ended with Paul Owens catching the game-winning score. Patrick Sherlock trying to guide Philadelphia Amp back to the finals at Nationals for the 3rd consecutive season. And this point, just like the last one, will begin from the brick. The pull sails out of bounds. Take a look at the matchups. Looks like Rosso's got Lance. Ing is on Westbrook. First cut made by Casey Anderson at the back of the stack, but he didn't get the disc or the reset necessary. Here's Anderson, marked by Owens. And here's Lance to Westbrook. Looking to the end zone. Anderson unable to make the catch. Tangling with the sideline, as well as the pressure of the moment. That close.
Yeah.
Up the line. Ing lays out to keep it alive. Don't believe it was intended for him. Travel is called back on the thrower.
Travel call. Okay. It's a travel call. Are we testing? Leaving it as is?
I very confident. Put it in and put my foot. I mean, I feel very good about not traveling. I haven't had one called me in years. I really don't think I do. It's hard to describe like why I think it's a travel. I think it's a different move. Well, so I'm here. You're definitely looking at me and then hit my arm. And
So,
like,
would you like to keep it contested, or would you like a resolution? Okay, so we've got a contested travel. Let's bring it back.
Contested throw. So everyone should go back to the throw. Back to the throw. Back to the throw.
So whatever you said last.
oh, they call a foul.
The pass. Completed pass. It's gonna come back. It's a travel call, not a foul. So where?
I think so. I mean, I thought I was far
So
sideways, and
the pass is complete on the foul, so it's a play-on situation. We're bringing it back because of the travel call. So what you +1? Solid 5.
I'm not sure if it was a travel or not, but I can't believe Steve Rosso didn't go to the observer to ask. He had nothing to lose, except maybe he knew he'd find Michael Ing going deep one throw later. Amp, after being down 14-12, trying to close this thing on a 3-0 run, and Thompson is called for a foul, trying to get open for the reset. tension of the moment, battling with the reality of the stoppages. McKinnon overthrows Thompson. Shame has life again. Daley Morgan looking to Westbrook. He dropped it, but a foul called on the throw. No contest. Mozafari gets a piece of the arm. Yep. Pretty good dump defense by Ing. Is that a foul again?
Stalling one.
Mozafari, good spirit. 2 uncontested fouls on Universe Point. In the national semis, low throw. Lance thinks he caught it. Amp says it was down. And we'll get another look. Oh, that's so close.
Yeah.
So he's in the shadow.
We are certainly playing call bingo this last point.
Okay.
Okay. Obviously you're doing a contested. Are you?
Observer rolled it up. And from looking at the replay, I'm not sure there's anything conclusive that could overturn the call.
We destroyed it.
In football, that would be one of those the call stands because it's really tough to tell. The shadows right there, making it more difficult to see. Timeout taken by Shame. Take a deep breath, everybody. About an hour away from Pony and Machine. Later tonight, Sockeye and Ring, but still one more point to be scored in this mixed semifinal. Obviously, it hasn't been the cleanest game. Say that for the women's semifinal as well, but all we can ask for is close games down to the wire, and we're certainly getting that. What do you think the conversations are like right now in the respective huddles?
Well, I really like the way that Westbrook and Lance have been working together down the field. I think they'll probably want the stack to pull back just a little bit, work on, taking a few stutter steps to open up deeper in the lane so that after they do a few cut up the line or maybe some give go or centering to the middle of the field, they have someone coming in the minute they grab the disc and turn to look.
Vertical stack in the middle of the field from Fort Collins Shane. Lance up the line, McKinnon gets the block. And away from the play, there's a stoppage. Raha Mozafari waving her arms because a Shane player is shaken up. Might just be a cramp. Alex Daniels.
Jeff!
Mozafari may have stepped on Daniels backing up. You saw it. Raha apologizing immediately.
Are we subbing? No? Okay, no calls. We should be stalling one here, guys.
Alex Daniels staying in the game. Another chance for Amp. 3 turnovers so far on this final point. Morris is going. And it's denied. How about the clutch defense we've seen? This time it was Aubrey Dietrich.
Wow. Tipped away beautifully.
Like it's Saturday morning pickup. Here's Dietrich to Lance. Westbrook's taken off. No throw-in lane there, but here's Anderson. Underneath for Ashley Daly Morgan. Alex Daniels shaken up earlier in the point to Westbrook. Lance is going. Now he's coming back under. Here's Anderson under. Shame on the doorstep again. This was a pick. Lance is going to keep the disc. We're also able to catch up a few steps. No, they're going to send it back. $14 all, game to 15. Amp and Shame. Far more entertaining than their first meeting of the year and Labor Day weekend. Started 11-1 in Amp's favor. Lance looking at the end zone, bluffs a hammer. Westbrook to the front of the goal line, but no, still 5 yards away. Now Lance rips across field. Did he go too far? Yes! The second time this point, once for Anderson and now for Westbrook. That the throw sails too far. And Amp takes over possession again.
Oh man, Shame has exhibited so much patience down the field and then just outside the end zone.
Michael Ing from the front corner of the end zone throws it to Nick Lance. Westbrook snags it. Big hammer. Smacked down by Linda Morse. I don't know, Megan, the men's semifinal scheduled to start in 53 minutes. We might still be playing this point.
Can we push it back?
We will play until we have a winner. Rosso fires long. Owens there for Amp, but it's Anderson who had position for Shame.
Oh my goodness. I can only imagine how tired the players are at this point.
Over to Westbrook. Anderson. Quick dish, Daniels back to Westbrook. Ashley Daly Morgan. And Lance. Regardless who wins, it's been a fun and wild final point. Think Mischief's enjoying this? Keep playing, guys. Lance, too low on the throw. Another cruel twist to the final point of this semifinal. Stall count rising on a Mozafari, and it's Thompson who got laid out into, making the catch by Daniels. Everybody catching their breath here. Here we go. Rosso for Mozafari. How many Universe Point games do you think Raha's played? Probably triple digits in her illustrious career. Michael Ng loops it ahead for Thompson, who rips it deep. Owens, he makes the catch to send Philly Amp back to the finals at Nationals. Second game in a row in bracket play. Paul Owens catches the winner on Universe. Amp survives somehow, some way, and ends Shame's magical run.
Both teams had multiple chances this possession, but Amp, with the throwing prowess of Anna Thompson, is able to hold out just a little longer.
There are players in the mixed division who are older than Anna Thompson and Paul Owens combined. But for Amp, youth prevails on Universe Point. 15-14, Amp figures out a way. As Shame had the disc on the goal line a bunch of times, but could not punch it in. And it'll be Mischief and Amp in the mixed division title game tomorrow. Those two teams played a 2-point game in pool play, won by Mischief. The rematch with everything on the line tomorrow on Championship Sunday. We'll be back. USA Ultimate National Championships are brought to you by Discraft, home of the Ultra Star, the official disc of USA Ultimate. Now featuring an updated website to make ordering custom discs easier than ever. Visit discraft.com for all your custom disc needs. Final score, Philadelphia Amp 15, Fort Collins Shame 14. Not sure how Amp pulled it off, but they did. Maybe Ian Toner can get some answers. Ian?
Thanks, Evan. Raha, how was your team able to stage this incredible second half comeback?
Yeah, I mean, we stayed mentally strong. Patrick called a timeout, I think, when it was like we were still down 2 points. All he said was really just let's bring the energy in, just play ourselves, play within ourselves, but the sideline has to be key to help the on-field players kind of take it to the next level.
You start multiple game points on defense. You're out there for Universe Point. Can you just take us through your mindset when that line gets called and when you're grinding through turnover after turnover?
Honestly, I just trust my teammates. I trust the work that we've put in, I've put in. I don't really think too much. The less I think, the better I play. Focus on the matchups, focus on what the coaches say, what to do on defense, and I just play.
What's the secret to beating Mischief tomorrow?
They're an excellent team. I think they're the team that I've been most sort of nervous about because I think their style of play is very similar to us. They play through their depth, they play through their women, they play excellent mix, and they're great teammates. So I'm really excited to play. We just have to play our game. It's going to be a good game.
Raha, congratulations on the win. Go rest and hydrate.
Thank you.
Evan and Megan, back up to you.
Another wild one. There's Nick Lance, exasperated at his performance down the stretch. I mean, he had the disc in his hands with the game on the line, and just a couple throws sailed wide, another sailed low, and Shame falls just a smidge short of the final. The last sequence, of course, our Discraft play of the game, brought to you by Discraft, home of the Ultra Star. I mean, what can you say? Just wild stuff. Anna Thompson for the win to Paul Owens. Ant Mischief tomorrow, Meagles. What do you think?
I mean, it's going to be, as Raha said, it's going to be a great game
Given that the two teams have such similar playing styles, it's going to be a good game.
Mischief, I think another example like Shame, has been peaking at the appropriate time, taking care of business the way that it needs to. You know, it's given AMP a shakeup before. There's no reason to think that they can't do it again.
That'll be at 6 o'clock Eastern Time, 3 o'clock Pacific tomorrow here in San Diego. The finals are set in the women's division and the mixed division. We got 2 men's semifinals coming up this evening, the first of which begins in about 42 minutes. Nick Lance and company will hopefully be back next year. Tough one for Shame to swallow, but at least they won't have to change their flights. For Megan Tormey and Ian Toner, Evan Lepler saying so long for now. The 2 men's semis, Pony Machine, Sockeye Ring, still to come. We're just halfway through our coverage of semifinal Saturday at Nationals. Philly AMP, they are a stalwart in the mixed division, and they were tested mightily, but they survived and advanced by a score of 15-14. Congratulations to AMP. We'll at least see them tomorrow versus Mischief. For now, we say so long. Men's semis coming up 40 minutes. See you then.